I'm Joaquin, your host, and this is the Football Corner reporting on the 2026 World Cup. Today, I'll be giving you a recap of the 23rd matchday of this World Cup. The first game that we had in this matchday was Egypt versus Australia, which ended 1-1, but Egypt ended up winning on penalties. As always, Egypt started this game well and scored an early goal, and they controlled the tempo for most of the game, but especially at the start, they were pinning Australia back a lot, and they were effectively stopping the Australian counterattacks, but they just didn't finish their chances. This is the same thing that happened in their game against Iran, in their game against Belgium, and now in this game. Egypt, if they want to win against Argentina, they have to have this good start like they do in most of their games, but they also have to finish their chances better, or else the teams can come back. Just like in all three games that I mentioned, where they conceded a goal to Belgium and tied 1-1, they conceded to Iran, tied 1-1, and now they conceded to Australia and tied 1-1 again, but at least they won on penalties this time. For Australia, their counterattack just wasn't as effective and didn't show as much of a spark as they did in the other games. And their defense was well organized, but what they didn't do too well defending set pieces because they're taller and stronger than most of the Egyptians. But still, Egypt's goal came from a cross, which Australia really needs to be taking care of on defense. And for offense, although they're great at attacking set pieces and crosses, the crosses that they were giving just weren't good enough. Several times, they crossed it too low or they crossed it too weak, so the Egypt players always got there first. If they were better at crossing this game, they could have easily won, because their only goal came from one of their only dangerous crosses. And they remembering that they have 6'6" center back Harry Sutar in the box waiting for it. But Australia's biggest error definitely came for the penalty shootout, and this one's completely the coach's fault. First, he subbed off probably their best player this tournament, the goalkeeper Beach, who was doing so well that game and in other games. He could have even saved some penalties. He subbed him out for the veteran goalkeeper Matt Ryan, who doesn't have a great track record with penalties, and then Matt Ryan didn't save a single one of Egypt's penalties. Not to mention that Popovic, Australia's coach, put two center backs to take penalties for them. And one was actually 18 years old, Lucas Harrington. I know Lucas Harrington is a great player and he was playing well, but still he shouldn't be on penalty duty. There were there was a lot there were many more veterans that they could have chosen from there, and that's essentially where they lost the game. If they get to the World Cup again next time, they really have to improve their penalty strategy. The second game that we had in this match day was Cabo Verde versus Argentina. This game ended 3-2 to Argentina, but it was a historic game for Cabo Verde. In normal time, in the 90 minutes, they tied against both the first and second ranked teams in the world, Spain and Argentina, showing how big their performances were and how hard that is to do. They were so solid defensively throughout the whole game, and they didn't seem like 11 players. They seemed like one team. They were always moving together, they were always organized, concentrated, and really focused on what they had to do. And Bubista, their coach, deserves so much credit because the defensive shape that he set up in all of their games was so hard for other teams to penetrate, and also the counterattacks were pretty good as well, especially at the start of the second half when they started to keep more possession and when they started the second half so well, keeping possession and being calm on the ball and building up the plays well, they got rewarded with a goal. And yet again, when they started doing that after conceding in extra time, they kept building up patiently and slowly and doing well to not fall for Argentina's traps on defense and not fall for Argentina's press. Because especially Vozinha, the goalkeeper, he dribbled Lautaro twice and he almost dribbled Messi. Vozinha, I don't think he misplaced a short pass at all today. And not only that, but he was great in goal. Even when the referee didn't blow the whistle and Messi took the free kick early. One of the many questionable refereeing decisions in this game. Vozinha is definitely the man of the match, and I really don't understand why Michelob Ultra gave the man of the match to Messi. Honestly, Cabo Verde were the only team that were man enough to come close to Messi and to tackle him. And even when they got the ball sometimes, the referee still called fouls on them, but that didn't deter them. Even if they knew that the referee might make a bad decision, they still went for the ball and they still tried everything to get to it. And Argentina in this game, they were quite surprising. I thought they were going to beat Cabo Verde by a lot. And I was cheering for Cabo Verde by all means. And I didn't believe in them at all, but Cabo Verde was just playing so good. But Argentina now raises an important question. The best team that they have played since September 2025, the highest ranked team in the FIFA rankings that they have played, is Austria. What will happen when they face a tough team? What will happen when they face a Colombia, a Brazil, a France? They can't hide behind low-ranked FIFA teams forever. They can't play against teams that don't want to touch Messi forever, just like it was shown in this Cabo Verde game. And even if they get a little additional help from the referee, it might not be enough against some very good teams like France. I'm interested to see how Argentina versus Egypt will be, because Egypt has proven to be a pretty tough team to beat, but Egypt need to finish their chances to make it hard for Argentina. The last game that we had in this match day was Colombia versus Ghana, which ended in a tight 1-0 win for Colombia. Although the scoreline was pretty narrow, it could have been much more for Colombia if they were finishing their chances well. They do so well in creating and being quick on the attack, and they're quite unpredictable. They can cut in, they can cross it in, but the finishing touch just isn't there. And that all comes down to who they play at the number 9 position. I've said time and time again, John Cordoba and Luis Suarez aren't enough right now for them. They need Cucho Hernandez to be the starter, because he not only shows so much passion, but his finishing and even his passing is better than Cordoba and Suarez. Colombia really need to fix that issue in their starting lineup, but that's basically it. Their only other big problem is that they sometimes have some lapses of concentration. Then they make such silly errors for such a good team, constantly giving the ball away in their own half, and several times they just fall asleep at the back sometimes. But they were lucky this game that Ghana wasn't playing as well, neither on defense or on the attack. Don't get me wrong, the defense was still pretty good, but it wasn't the same watertight and clutch defense that they had versus England. But the counterattacks this game were just not even close to any of their other games. It seemed that they lacked a lot of chemistry in the attack, and their striker Jordan Ayew didn't take a single shot during the whole World Cup, and they kept starting him. And Fatawo on the right-hand side, he seemed like a one-man job completely, because he was always so isolated that even when he rarely had options, he forgot about passing the ball because he was so used to trying to dribble 3 Colombian players in a row. Ghana, although they have a good defensive system, they also need to have a little more organization on offense. For when their defense has an off day, like today, maybe their offense can cover up for that. But that just wasn't the case, and they completely deservingly lost this game. In Colombia, if they win their game against Switzerland and if Argentina wins their game against Egypt, Colombia versus Argentina will be the quarterfinal game, and that will be quite interesting. But Colombia really needs to prepare for that game if they beat Switzerland. Because to beat Argentina, you have to have good finishing like Cabo Verde and have the same focus and good defending that Cabo Verde did have. So Colombia does need to improve a little bit on their concentration. But if they do that and put in Cucho Hernandez at striker, I think that they can beat almost any team. And unfortunately, Ghana are out of the World Cup. They put on a pretty good showing, got a point against England, won against Panama, and kept a tight game against Croatia. So I respect that team, and hopefully they'll be back for the next one. So that's it for today. Do you guys think that Messi and Argentina are getting a little extra help from the referees? Drop your answer down below in the comments. Ciao!